Hello, strangers and friends. Today's episode is brought to you by Christmas, because it's almost here. That means in a few days, many of us are going to go to church, and we're going to remember Jesus, the light of the world, being born in a stable in Bethlehem. If your church is anything like mine, you're probably going to shut off all the lights, and you're going to get a candle, and you're going to think about Jesus. You'll probably also think about Billy, that little ADHD kid with the sideways hair and the chocolate all over his face, and how he somehow got a candle, and he's just moments away from burning the whole place to the ground.
Oh, holy night, the stars smiley chocolate.
But you'll also think about the baby Jesus. I'm going to put this out. And as we remember the opening act of the greatest story ever told, maybe we can also think about how that manger story, all by itself, can be part of our story today. Maybe it's something that we can live out. This is how we think about Jesus as a baby. A little bit of illumination, a little bit of power. That's still hot. And from this one flame, it's not really hard to make it spread into something a whole lot bigger. But watch this. This firelight, all the power that it has, is incredibly vulnerable. This is how Jesus, God incarnate, the creator of everything, entered into a relationship with us. He depended on us to feed him, to provide for him, to teach him to walk and talk. For a good while, the only truths that Jesus could proclaim were that he was hungry and he needed a fresh set of swaddling cloths. It doesn't get much more vulnerable than that. So my question for us as the body of Christ in the world would be, how are we doing at being vulnerable out there in the darkness? How are we doing at dropping our defenses and entering into real, personal relationships with our neighbors and our communities? The baby Jesus teaches us to do just that. The second thing I'm seeing in the Christ child is his humility. He is the visible image of the invisible God. He was there at the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. And here he arrives as a baby in a manger, surrounded by animals and hay and poop. He made himself nothing to be with us. And he didn't have to do that. I mean, he's God. He could have just shown up in Nazareth one day like some mysterious, all-powerful, all-knowing gunslinger. That is Zechariah. Yeah, I know your name. And your boy. He's a little off, but don't worry, he's just preparing the way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got a showdown with death and sin. But he didn't do that. He arrived on the scene with no knowledge, no voice to proclaim anything, no nothing. And for us today, we have a lot of knowledge about the way the world ought to be. We know about God and his ways. We have our belief systems, we have our political ideologies and ideas about justice, and we're very good at making them known. But what if we enter these arenas in the spirit of the Christ child? And just for a little bit, what if we humbled ourselves, not denying the fullness of what we know, and worked to proclaim nothing? What if we sought to just listen and learn? Finally, the last way I see the baby Jesus story entering into our story today. The thing we seem to celebrate the most at Christmas is that Jesus showed up. He's finally here. His presence alone was hope for the life that would come. As Christians, we often think we have to do something or say something, and right quick if we're going to save the world or end injustice or make a difference. The reality is, though, we first have to be present. We have to show up. We have to dwell in the darkness and come to know it. Jesus was present in the world, and usually silent, before he was anything else. So this Christmas, remember God's faithfulness and the hope of the Christ child. But with that, live out the Christ child memory in the world around you. Vulnerability, humility, presence. And for Pete's sake, have a Merry Christmas! Take it away, Billy. Take it away, Billy. Billy.